If you're someone that's always questioning life, as in why is it that the world operates the way that it does, then this video is for you. And it's because, we grow up believing that we have to go to school, we have to get a good job, we have to pay bills, we have to get a family, we have to entertain and soothe ourselves and then die. But majority of us don't believe that that is the reason for our existence. So in today's video, I want to share with you 7 tips on how to start the self-discovery journey. And what if I told you that you're not existing to do all those things of what we were told to do? You're actually existing as the only requirement and mission for you here is to discover yourself and to understand why you exist. So let's get into it. Gooch, beautiful beings. Welcome back, Awaken Ones, on another episode on Embracing Essential Series with your homegirl, Brittany Fontanez. If you're new to this channel, so glad to have you here. If you've been on this journey with me so far, gang, only love, you know who you is. I am an energetic activator here to assist you to awaken the things you have yet to see upon your emotional awareness, your spiritual awareness, and to help you see why is it that you are meant to be here. Other than that, beautiful beings, I'll greatly appreciate if you hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification button. Lastly, make sure you let me know your feedback in the comment section below on what you receive out of this video, as I love interacting with you guys. Now, lastly, if you want to know any of the services that I render, all that information will be down in the description box below. If you go to my link tree, you'll be directed to my website where I render all tarot readings, Reiki healings, and also integrating shadow work healing as well. And also be directed to my Awaken Prophecy healing course, my Etsy shop where I sell merch. And lastly, go check me and my homegirl out on Spotify at Mystifying Reality, as we are always posting videos and on Spotify every Sunday on conversations that I feel we are meant to have in this day and age. Now, beautiful beings, let's get into 7 tips on how to start the self-discovery journey. I know that's a lot to take in, but what I mean by the self-discovery journey, I really mean the healing journey. Now, when I say healing, please know that everything I mean by healing, I don't define it as there's something wrong with you, or you're broken, or there's an illness. No. We really do have to change our perspective on how we use our words with intention. And my intention with using the word healing is to see parts of myself that do not resonate with my soul that I need to rid of. That's how I see healing, is to connect with my soul and see what's causing the resistance towards the connection to my true self. And that is what I want to share with you guys today on how to start the self-discovery journey, which is actually the journey of self-healing. Now, you might be asking, why is it that it's important to go on this journey? Like I said in the beginning, we're always told what to do once we are born, but really our whole purpose and our mission of existing is to understand who we are and why we exist. But the other reason why I feel it's important to go on this journey is because look at a job, for instance. You wake up and go to that place you don't want to go to because you feel like that's how I'm going to pay my bills. That's how I'm going to have my stability. That's how I'm going to make sure my life is safe. All right? Well, self-healing and self-discovery is the same exact thing as a job. It's an everything thing. It's an everyday thing that you have to do. And I feel that a lot of us wonder, does it ever end? It never ends. It's like a job, but it's here to teach you how to embrace it, not demonize it, not traumatize it, and not run away from it. I do believe the reason why a lot of people don't want to look at themselves, don't want to do that inner work, don't want to make themselves a priority, because not only we were taught to neglect self, but it's really because it's hard to look at self. We were taught to praise the gratification of our ego, of our flesh. But when we look at our emotions, when we look at what's underneath the surface, a lot of us feel ashamed and disgusted. One, we were taught that. But secondly, it's a delusion, meaning that we made ourselves believe that there's something wrong with us when there's nothing wrong with us. This is why I believe the self-healing journey is so important, is because when you go on this journey, you're shedding layers that aren't true. And you're discovering a part of yourself that you never known before, but that's always been under the surface. And this is lastly the most important thing to do, is because we live in a world where everyone is trying to control everything, but the only control you have over is yourself. When you could gain your sovereignty, you have mastery over yourself. And I highly suggest reading the book Mastery by Robert Greene. Been on that book for a hot minute already. It's really drastically changed my life to understand that the inner critic within us is not something we should listen to, because it's really teaching us how to run away from our journey. But the inner genius, the potential, the divine potential that lies within us, teaches us our sovereignty. But a lot of us don't want to discover that sovereignty, don't want to expose our light, don't want to use our light to expose our darkness, is because we have to face the resistance. We have to face the uncomfortable parts of ourselves that we deem unworthy. So let's get into 7 tips on how to start the self-discovery journey. And I will share with you guys throughout how I've done this in my life. And that's how it's got me to where I want to be and continuously helps me where I want to go. So let's get into the first one. To start the self-discovery journey requires awareness. We live in a world where a lot of people like to label themselves ADHD or ADD, but really it's just we have a lack of focus. That's all it is. We're so distracted that we have a lack of focus. We're so in our mammal. What I mean by mammal, it's more like we're in our animalistic instincts, meaning that we're always in our lower chakras and we think like an animal when we're so highly more intelligent than that. And an animal is easily distracted. It's never really focused. So awareness is so important to start this journey, is because you have to be aware of yourself. You can never change what you're not aware of. But when you become aware of it, that's how you gain your power in changing it. So awareness starts with questioning your existence. Question, why is it that you're so intrigued by emotionally unavailable people? Why is it that you keep doing and going to a job that you hate? Why is it that you can't express your emotions when you want to feel seen and heard? Why is it that you don't want to live? Why is it that you feel like you don't have the answers to your purpose? When you start questioning your existence, your inner self has the capability to express itself. Again, a lot of people don't want to be aware of themselves because they think they're going to come upon a monster when they go within themselves. But what if I told you, you becoming aware of yourself, you're actually opening the door to what you think is a monster. It's the little inner child within you that's connected to the divine, that is so finally ready to be seen and heard by you, so you can mature out of the mentality of always seeing things as trying to hurt you into the mature mentality of seeing how things are working for you. That's how you embrace the journey. So 1, awareness. Question your existence. Question everything about yourself. That's what I do. I question why I judge people. I question why I feel sad. I question why is it that I think deeper than people. I even question, what am I beyond this physicality? You'll be surprised at how all the answers within you start coming to the surface to assist you. And that's what I did before I get into this next one. The second tip on how to start the self-discovery journey, and that is awakening. When you start to become aware of self and question your existence, you start to awaken, hence that word epiphanies. Start to have revelations. That's what happened to me the last time I tried to commit suicide. I was questioning, why is it that I only experience pain? And in that one little question, I had the most supernatural awakening experience. And if you want to know about my spiritual awakening experience, go to my website and go into my bio, and I explain my whole story there. I don't really want to share it here because it's just too much right now. But pretty much the gist of the story is that my third eye exposed itself to me. And sometimes it's not always going to be like that. Some people are just going to have epiphanies of like, whoa, like a light bulb moment. Or some people who were supposed to be in tune with spirit are really in tune with spirit and they didn't know, and they have supernatural experiences like I do. But that is the second tip, is that you start to awaken and have epiphanies, and you start to discover the answers within you rather than seeking them outside of you and try to fill the void through doing things in the outer world to try to distract you from wanting to find those answers to what makes you feel uncomfortable within your own existence. So the second tip is awakening. That's what happens when you become aware. You start to awaken to things you did not know before. And that's how you could learn how to change your perspective. And ever since I had my spiritual awakening, the next day, all I just felt yearned to do was discover why the hell that happened to me. Why is it that I saw my third eye expose itself to me in front of my physical eyes? And that's what led me onto my journey today to be the deep individual that I am, but to also recognize where my path was leading me. So that's the second tip, awakening. Now the third tip is activation. This is where a lot of people get stuck on the healing and self-discovery journey, is because after you awaken, a lot of people want to call themselves woke. There's a difference between awakening and woke. Woke is you open your eyes. Awakening is you're getting your ass out of bed and you're activating that inspired action. You're activating to move your body into awakening, into questioning. But a lot of people, they see the truth, they feel the answers, they have that revelation, but they don't do anything about it. So it's important to understand that awareness starts with consciousness. Awakening starts with your inner spirit, and activation helps all of that like merge with your physical self to start creating movements. This is how manifestation works. When you have a thought and then you have the activation, the feeling of it, then your body is going to move into making that thing come to physical life. So a lot of people get stuck on this because they don't want to do anything with the information that receive when it comes to awakening. So for example, this is the perfect example I can always use for my illustration, is that I used to be a people pleaser, and I kept questioning, why is it that I have trust issues and fear abandonments? And I had the answers to it, but I wasn't doing anything to implement that, meaning that I had the answers of why I was attracting these certain people, but I was not implementing how to stop attracting those type of people by setting boundaries, by saying no, by outing what it is I don't like or what it is that I'm receiving that's disrespectful to me. So it's important to understand that you have to activate the feeling of that awakening, of that epiphany that you have when you start to question your reality and yourself. Activate the new ways of thinking and being. Activate the ways of allowing yourself to feel the uncomfortability of that truth and go through it. Because the best way to overcome something is by going through it. So that's the third tip on how to start the self-discovery journey, is to activate, meaning feel it, alchemize the feeling. And if you haven't watched my last video on how to alchemize triggers, I highly suggest to go watch that video, because I get more in depth on understanding how feelings are the secret, not only to manifesting, but on how to alchemize in order for you to transform your life and yourself. So let's get into the fourth one. Fourth tip on how to start the self-discovery journey is acceptance. This is another tough one. The more we get into these tips, you guys, the more tough it gets. And the reason why I say that is because acceptance requires you to, I'm not saying be okay with what has happened to you. If you've been verbally abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused, been around a lot of narcissists, manipulators, people who hurt you, people who abandon you. I'm not saying it's okay that happened to you, but what I mean by acceptance is that you have to accept your past and what has happened in your past, because acceptance allows you to be in a state of neutrality. When you're in a state of resentment, you're always going to hold on to baggage that's going to block you from receiving things that are meant for you. But with acceptance, it allows you to look at what has happened to you and say, yes, that wasn't right, that wasn't fair, but I no longer allow this to deteriorate who I want to make myself be. Hence, the past doesn't define you. You're letting your past redefine you. Acceptance allows you to see that the situation wasn't okay, but you can make something beautiful out of it if you allow it to just be there. You can't change the past, but you can change what you do with that past. So let's get into number 5. the fifth tip on how to start the self-discovery journey, and that is letting go. Let me tell you, letting go is the most hardest shit, even for me. Even though I'm on this journey, a lot of people may feel as if I'm an expert in this. I've been on this journey for quite some time. I would say longer than 7 years. I have learned a lot and I still continuously learn. So I don't know it all and I'm not right. But what I can say is that I have my flaws. And my biggest flaw is letting go. Letting go of control. A lot of us have been through so much in our life, in our childhood, that we still have that mentality when we get older. So we try to do everything to control our narrative as an adult. But it's because in our childhood, we had no sense of control. So we flip the switch. But sometimes when we flip the switch and try to control everything, it makes us hold on to the burden of thinking that we're the savior, we're the helper, and we're the only reliance we have on making this world better or trying to keep the peace around you. So letting go is so important, is because when you become aware and you become awakened and you start activating different implementing different ways of being, and you accept your past reality and you accept the old version of you, it's important to let go because you're shedding layers. It's like going in the shower dirty as fuck with mud all over you and you don't turn on the shower, but you told yourself you got into the shower. Like, it's just like that. And letting go means you have to clean off all that residue of the old ways of being, of the old ways of thinking, of the old ways of acting, because it no longer serves this new version of you that gained the epiphany, that gained the truth, that gained the answer that you needed. And not only that, a lot of you may say, well, Britt, I don't have the answers to my life. I don't have the answers to my purpose. I don't feel confident the way that you do in your path. I feel like I don't know who I am or why I exist. So I don't know how to let go because the pain, I identified with it for so long that it's kind of like your badge of honor. And you think that's your personality and you think that's your reality. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. The reason why that a lot of us don't find comfort in ourselves and in our life is because we haven't let go of believing in blockages. We haven't let go of the burden and resentment. Most importantly, the reason why we haven't let go of it is because we haven't felt it. You know, with my clients, you guys, they tell me their stories and I could tell the resentment behind the story they tell me, to the point that I put them through an exercise where they have to relive that trauma. And the reason why is because you cannot let go of what it is you don't face. You can run away from it, but it's only going to keep following you. And that's where we create the inner monster within, or the inner demon that we call, when it's really your inner child trying to get your attention. So we don't let go is because we haven't faced it yet. But once we face it, once we accept it, it's so important to let it go, because I'm not saying you're going to forget it. What I am saying, you're going to have less of a reaction towards it, to the point you have shed off some of the triggers about it, that to the point whenever something outside of you like kind of resembles that sense of trauma, you're like, it doesn't really bother as much. You don't get that offended by it. So letting go is a part of their journey, is because you're always leveling up. You're always ascending. You're always growing. You're always learning new things about yourself. So the old version of you can't always come with you. And it's going to be hard to grieve that part of you because you identified with it so long. For example, for me, my last therapy session, I recognized how much I've been in survival mode all my life. Since I was born, I've always been in survival mode, because I was jumping from home to home, school to school, seeing domestic violence all around me, seeing gang violence all around me, seeing people around me that I love, like all drugged up and all that stuff, all drunk. Like, I was always in survival mode because I always had to take care of myself. And now that I'm in a state of feeling safe within my body, it's like that old version of me is scared to let go, is scared to allow me to let it go, because I thought that was who I was for so long. But now I know it's not who I am. I'm not the person who who fears abandonment anymore, who fears trusting anymore, who fears when people leave anymore. I just not who I am, because I learned to accept it and let it go. I know that was a long one, you guys, but let's get into number 6, the 6th tip on how to start the self-discovery journey, and that is reasoning, which I like to emphasize as the death process. Now, what reasoning is, I look at this as more like the ego death. Now, I'm not saying you could get rid of your ego, because we need this flesh. That's how our spirit exists. But what I mean by the ego death is that you're shedding out the immature layers of the ego, and you're starting to learn how to mature the ego into the point that it's not mastering you, you're mastering it. So reasoning means that once you get to a place of acceptance and letting go, you start to reason with yourself on, that belief I have towards money, of thinking when I spend money, it's never going to come back. Now I don't believe that's true. So since now you're saying, oh, I used to believe that's true, and now that's not true, you're shedding it out. You're bearing that old version of thinking. And the example for another one, I always attract people who are emotionally unavailable. And now I'm recognizing that that's no longer true. I'm not attracted to those type of people, because now I see the red flags. Now I'm serious about my heart and what I need. So therefore, now you don't believe in that old way of chasing love, of wanting love, or being desperate about it. Now you're putting that to rest, and you're starting to reason with yourself. What is it do I really want to believe and think? So that is the 6th tip on how to start the self-discovery journey, is by reasoning with yourself. Once you go through the most, I would say, difficult processes of this, and you guys, I made all this up myself. These are the 7 tips I go through, and this is why I want to share with you guys, because it has tremendously changed my life, and it continues to do so. But reasoning allows you to, after you do the difficult steps before that, reasoning allows you to be in the easy stage, where you're just like, now you're being aware of what you believed in. Now you detached yourself from the experiences of pain. Now you're detached yourself from your emotions to the point you start to realize you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not your body. They're just here for usage temporarily. Now when you detached yourself from it, now you can observe everything and start to see, what do I want to believe in? How do I want to think? How do I want to be? How do I want to act? For example, for me, I know I'm meant to be rich. And not rich just in financial abundance, but I know I'm meant to do big things in this life. And I started to look at my old self and how she used to think about money, how she used to dress, how she used to act. And then now, since I detached that old version of myself, now I see the new version of myself, and I ask, how does that new version walk? How does she talk? How does she eat? How does she do work? How does she study? How does she be her? What's that version of her? Like, what does she have? What does she believe in? I start to reason with myself. And that's the most important thing. After you go through the difficult steps, start reasoning with yourself by detach from the old version of you and start to observe that and start to see and create up within your mind, what do I want to be like now? And start to reason with that new version of you. All right, now let's get into the last and final tip on how to start the self-discovery journey. And this one is, I would say, the most funnest part of the process, is because this is when you have the glow up. This is when people don't recognize the old you. This is when you don't even recognize yourself. These past 2 months, you guys, I have not been able to recognize myself. I haven't. It makes me emotional because I've been through so much. Now I'm finally at a place where I really, really feel at peace with myself, to the point that lately I have not been wanting to talk or hang out with anyone because I'm so content in my life that I don't need anything. I don't need anyone. And because of that, it helped me realize this last tip about my self-healing and self-discovery journey, and that is rebirth. Shifting into a new way of believing. Now, you went through the death process of shedding the old version of you. That is the shadow work. Now, the rebirth process is where the light work comes in. And what I mean by this is that you already shined light on the shadow aspects of you. You already went through the dark parts of your own psyche and your own being. Now you're going to look at the higher perspective of who you are, your higher self. Now you're rebirthing yourself. Like for me, for example, lately I felt like my life has been so backwards. And what I mean by this is that when I was born, I had to grow up so quick. Now that I'm adult, I feel like I'm a kid again, where I have to reparent myself. But not only that, I'm discovering what I loved as a child, what I found joy in, what made me feel like I was so excited to be alive. So I feel like I reversed my life from being an adult once I was born to now being a child. And I feel like I'm just getting fucking younger. But that's what I feel about the rebirth process, is that I'm shifting my way in believing. Now, notice I'm not saying seeing, I'm saying believing. Our beliefs create our perspective. Our perspective does not create our beliefs. But if your perspective creates your beliefs, then you're too ingrained into the physical world to the point that you allow your spirit to get dismantled by your physical circumstances. But the important thing is when you see your beliefs first, and start to see that your beliefs create your perspective, then that's how you gain mastery on how to change your focus and how to know what you want to focus on, where you want to put your intentions, and where you're going to allow yourself to be, environment, places, and things. So the rebirth process is all about not only shifting your way of believing, but start to recognize the higher version of you. What I mean by the higher version of you, I'm not just saying the person that's living the best life that you are wishing for. What I mean by this is that you're going beyond your physicality. You're going beyond your desires. You're going beyond everything that you're wishing. Because when you get to a place of rebirth, you're connecting to a higher consciousness. You're connecting to a higher perspective of yourself. And that perspective of yourself doesn't need anything physically. If anything, you're not impressed by any worldly things. And when you can get to a place like that, because you have created the inner world within you that feels so secure, that feels more powerful than your physical circumstances, then you get to a point when you don't need anything or want anything, and nothing about the world impresses you. And when you get to this place, this is how you learn to embrace the process of living, of being a spiritual being in a human vessel. When you can learn to embrace the process to the point that you stop looking at life as trying to torch you, as trying to go against you, and you start to see how life is working for you, as in, wow, my tire went flat. And most people get angry. I gotta go to work. I gotta get this done. I can't do my to-do list. But then when you have this rebirth and start shifting the way of believing, you start seeing the flat tire as Spirit, were you trying to save me from something? Was I going to get into an accident? Was there going to be traffic? Was I not supposed to go to work? Was I supposed to recognize something about myself? And then you start really questioning, like, maybe everything is working in my favor. Maybe what we deem negative or demonize is actually for our benefits. Like, for example, for me, I felt like, I'm 28. I felt like I could have been rich by 19 years old. And going throughout my journey to where I am today and building the businesses that I have, the multiple streams of income that I have, I started to recognize why I didn't get rich at a young age, why I didn't have my dreams come true. And it's because I needed to learn how to face rejection, how to face failure, how to face heartbreak, how to face every tumultuous thing that a human being could face, even when it comes to abuse. I had to face all of that, because if I didn't go through all of that, I would be like what most people in the world are, one-hit wonders, or success comes so quick and it goes very quickly. I had to go through the process of what I had to go through, because I know the wealth that I'm going to have is going to be for the long term. It's not going to be for the short term. So the more that I started to discipline myself, the more that I started to transform myself and become adaptable and start to emerge with the higher purpose of why my life went the way that it did, I started to recognize that I'm only preparing myself for what I am asking for. And when it finally comes to fruition, I would have the wisdom to maintain it and multiply it. You get what I'm saying, you guys? So the rebirth process helps you shift all the pain that you experience from this human experience and transforms you into merging with your higher self to the point you rebirth yourself not only into a new version or to transform or to have a metamorphosis, but you merge with your spirit that actually has a lot more power than your physical self. So you stop becoming of this world and you start to be the change within the world. I hope that makes sense, you guys. But I love the rebirth process because that's when you have that glow up. That's when you start saying that I'm not attracted to that anymore. I'm not attracted to those type of people. I'm not even impressed by this. But man, do I know how to fucking enjoy life. Do I know how to have the art of discernment to know what's not good for me, but to embrace things that I love and to embrace things that are good for me and to see life like the eyes of a child. Because a child sees life as magnificent, as magical. And when you can see life that way, you start to recognize that it outweighs the pain, it outweighs the hate, it outweighs everything that you ever experienced, because it has allowed you, everything that you went through has allowed you to see the beauty within everything. Like that saying goes, the people who have been hurt the most are the most kind because they know what it feels like to be hurt. It's just like that. The ones who can able to take their pain and turn it into power and self-mastery, those are the ones who live the most content life. And sometimes they have very little. Sometimes they have a lot. But it's not out of greed. It's not out of what they have. It's about who they are. It's like the saying goes, money's not evil. It's just the person and what they do with the money. It's just like that. So this is what I'm saying, you guys. The rebirth process is about allowing yourself to not demonize your past, to not hurt your past, to not hurt yourself, but to see the higher perspective of it and to merge with that higher perspective so you can learn how to embrace your life, embrace everything that you went through with pure gratitude. So other than that, beautiful beings, that's all I wanted to share with you today. 7 tips on how to start the self-discovery journey and help you recognize that it is a simple process, but it is going to be uncomfortable to be aware of yourself and to feel and to heal and to transform and to get out your comfort zone and to start to get uncomfortable. But guess what, you guys? The only forever thing that is always changing is energy, and energy lives within you. So that means you're always changing, you're always adapting. The way that your body is getting old, your mind has to mature with it. Your heart has to mature with it. Your maturity levels, your sense of being and acting has to mature with it. So why not make it easier on yourself by going with your body, listening to it, listening to yourself, finding your power, being vulnerable with yourself, and recognizing that there's nothing wrong with you. There's just a lot about you you have yet to understand. And the more that you discover yourself, the more that you understand yourself, the more that everything makes sense. And I'm telling you guys, if you go through this process, it will start to make sense. And I wish some of you guys were in my shoes to recognize how it does start to make sense for you, into recognizing why you exist, why you are here, and you start to awaken to your purpose. So if you want to know more on how to do that and to get more in depth on this healing journey, go check out my healing course, Awaken Prophecy. Like I said, that link will be in the description. Once you go to my link tree, you will see Awaken Prophecy. Go to there and go enroll into that course and get the ball rolling, you guys, because I can't explain to you how powerful the self-discovery and the self-healing journey is. I just can't. There's nothing more. There's nothing I would rather do other than this. I'd rather do this than have a motherfucking job. I'd rather do this than listen to other people. I'd rather do this and follow my own path than follow the path that's already been carved out. I'd rather carve my own. And I want you guys to do the same, because that's how fucking powerful you are, and that's how much you deserve to understand why you exist and the power that would never be duplicated that's within you. Other than that, you guys, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. Let me know your feedback in the comment section below or what you received from this video. And until then, I'll see you on the next one. Only love.